Bangers Wednesday night phone-in. I'm Matty, and it's been a busy old day in the land of Hibs fandom today. We've had a breaking story. Well, I say breaking story. Some reputable outlets broke this story on YouTube before we played Dunfermline, but let's not go there with that. The breaking story that what's his name? Anders Paulson is interested and invested in Hibs. And then as the day developed, he was less interested in investing in Hibs and more interested in business networking meetings, which was interesting. We have the rumoured signings of Owen Erding and Kai Andrews as well, and multi-million pound bids and from Italy for our very own Kieran Bowie. And as if that wasn't enough, we had an absolute shit show of a game last Saturday against Falkirk, which, yeah, I mean, had us all tearing our hair out. Joe, you were first on out of all that. Where would you like to start?
I think a very famous Shakespearean play, Much Ado About Nothing, comes to mind with all the rumours and counter rumours about transfer. Nothing's happened yet. And we're only, 4 days till the end of the transfer window.
Yeah.
And it's looking really poor. It looks like our season's just about knackered. And I'm not being a prophet of doom, but that's factually, that's how it looks. Having lost Josh Mulligan for about a month, he's going to miss the key games against Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, Dundee United next week as well. If they are going to bring anyone in, and there's speak of another striker, right wing back, and so on, but we desperately need a creative midfield player. You know, we just don't have a number 8 to replace Josh Mulligan as it is. So that's where I'm at. Sorry to be negative. I'm a high B through and through, but it's not looking good at the moment. I mean, Hibs have left it really, really late to do anything in the transfer market. And if the most likely thing that's going to happen is Barry going away.
Well, if this is not cheering you up any, Joe, the first comment that we've got of the night comes from Kieran, and he said, "Heard Levitt has been offered to Motherwell." So they're making your night worse. The
Well,
Mulligan, I think, was it came out earlier on. I'm sure I saw an article that said he's going to be out for about 6 weeks. How big a blow is that, Joe?
that's huge. I mean, both he and McGrath have been terrific signings, no question about it. But McGrath's sort of the number 10. It's that number 8 that we need. You know, Nectar Triantis performed that role last season, more or less. And we just don't have anyone to play that role. We desperately need that creative midfield player. We're screaming for a creative midfield player because if Mulligan's out for 6 weeks, we're playing Rangers, Celtic, Hearts in that period. The season will be over by the end of February, unless something magic happens in the next few days, especially if we're losing Kieran Berry.
And what do you think of the chances of losing Bowie, Joe? I mean, the talk is of bids coming in from Italy in the region of £5 million plus. Is that about what you would be hoping for Bowie? And do you think Hibs will do business at that?
I think if they get without too many ties around it, because I think the first bid that we've had for 4 million plus add-ons and stuff that's coming that Hibs have rejected wasn't acceptable. But if they up it to 5 plus, I think it's pretty close to being there. Don't forget, we sold Josh Doig to this crowd 4 years ago, so we have done business with him. There is a relationship between Hibs and Verona, so it's looking more likely than unlikely, and that's all bad news for Hibs. If we lose Kieran Berry and don't sign anyone else, the season's knackered, especially with the loss of Mulligan, in my view. Sorry to be the doom and gloom, but factually, that's how it looks to me.
That's right. There's not a lot of time to invest that money. You know, if you were to take in millions for something like Bowie, there's not a great amount of time to spend it. Danny Stewart has said, according to reports, Hibs have turned down 1.9 million from Wolfsburg for Mulligan. And Kieran said if Bowie's worth 6 million, Mulligan is at least worth the same. In the region of 2 million, Hibs would be right to turn that down for Mulligan, Joe, wouldn't they?
Yes, although what did we pay? 400,000 at the end of the day.
It was undisclosed. We sort of agreed a terms with Dundee before it went to tribunal. but
Aye,
I don't think they disclosed. Definitely six figures, so.
aye. I'd heard 400,000. I don't know where I heard that from, but anyway, either way, if Hibs lost 7 million last season, apparently we're on track to lose another 7 million this season, if reports are to be believed. So the Gordons can only go so far, and they're obviously thinking that too when they're talking about other potential partners
Hmm.
coming in. All this talk with the Michelin guy today. Well, if it might come to nothing, you can see what's in the wind.
Yeah. What do you think of the investment rumours, Drew? Do you think there's anything in it?
I tend to feel there's no smoke without fire. Um, the family that own Hibs have got what 85%.
Yep.
The two big losing years, 7 million a time. Common sense would say it might make sense. Of course, it could help the team too, a decent sized investment. So it's difficult to say, but I just hope and pray that something magic comes out of the transfer window and we can pull a number 8 or creative midfield player
Mhm.
as well as another striker. Because whether Bowie goes or not, we still need another striker and somebody that's taller than what we've got for a start. I know this young laddie coming in is 6 feet three
Uh-huh.
apparently, but that's still to happen.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that we might Hibs tend to announce signings quite late on in the day.
Mm,
I think their social media team figured out that if they post in the evening, they get more traction than they do in the daytime. So if you get a signing, it makes more sense to let us know about this time. So I'll keep my phone out and kind of keep an eye on it because I thought we might have heard something today about
mm, mm.
Erling. Paslak obviously is the right wing back, which is still I'm told still happening once uh, Bochum sorted out a replacement. So it looks like we've targeted the right wing back, a midfielder, in Kai Andrews, and a
And the
striker
striker, the young Irish
uh,
guy, yeah.
as well, which is the sort of areas that most of us thought that we were
Mm-hmm,
we were lacking in.
mm-hmm.
Joe, I'm going to bring Chris in next. Chris, what do you
Sure.
want to talk about?
Well, I think it's just that I probably just continue on for what Joe was saying there, especially in the midfield position. Like I kind of feel that we obviously this injury to Josh Mulligan's massive now. I
Mm-hmm,
think we've seen that at the weekend. As much as we'll say Chaiwa has legs, he doesn't have the discipline
Hmm.
that Mulligan has, and it was very, very evident across the course of the weekend that he just was all over the place and just didn't have that discipline. I think if you take Mulligan out the team, we really lack legs in that midfield now, like really badly. And so I think that's probably where the Andrews thing comes in. It's
Yep.
just another body that's got a bit more dynamism about him when it's coming in. But I think just in terms of transfers as well, I just wonder why the club just haven't said we're going to sign Paslak in a pre-contract. He's coming in the summer, announce it, and then go, but we're going to try and get him
It's a weird one,
early.
eh?
Because by all accounts, like everything you read, it says the deal's done. He wants to come. He's been at Easter Road already. So why not just announce him in a pre-contract and kind of maybe force the handy block him a wee bit?
Hmm. Do you know much about the boy Andrews that's been talked about? Is coming in. Do you think he was at
Don't
Motherwell
know.
last season?
I don't know masses about him, but he's like I know it says he's played 10 games for Coventry this season, but I think I looked at it in something like 53 minutes or something.
Right. So
He
yeah,
hasn't
not a
played
lot.
a lot of football this season in terms of Coventry's first team. But if he's in and about that squad, that's a very, very good squad that Lampard's built this season. They're on very, very good form. So he must have something about him. I vaguely remember him last year, but I'd be lying if I says I paid that much attention.
He was one of these players that completely bypassed me. I have no recollection of the boy at all, so I'd be lying if I said I knew about him. What about the other rumours signing in the young striker from Ireland, Chris? What do you make of that one?
Um, I'm actually quite excited about it, but I don't. I think we need to kind of just rein ourselves in a little bit. I think that he'll come in, use the next few months to try and probably adjust to the league and the
Hmm.
step up. Like people are saying, and I know it's not as big a step up as it used to be. Like the League of Ireland's got a lot closer to the SPL these days, and you can see that by the performances of the Irish teams in Europe.
Yeah.
I think the step up's not as big. but he'll probably use this next few months to just bed himself in. I think it'll probably be next season before we see the best of him. But if everything you read from journalists, football experts in Ireland, etc., the boy's got an awful lot about him. And they seem to be, I think the good thing is, they seem to be very angry that Hibs are getting him for so little.
I was interested in that reaction, eh?
Very. So I think that tells you that there is a seriously good player there. And I don't tend to take too much for highlight reels, because essentially they're highlight reels, but he looks like he can finish. And not just finish for inside or out, like inside and outside the box. He's got a finish on him.
Aye, we got a scout report on him that we shared with subscribers on our Patreon. So if you're a subscriber and you're on Patreon, you'll be able to see that. And I think the kind of one of the key takeaways for that for me, Chris, was pretty much you said about exercise and caution about how much expectation is put on the lad's shoulders at the start. Like he's a 19-year-old, it's a step up for him. How important is it that folks sort of give him that time to bed in?
I think it's massively important. Like, we all want to be excited by new signings and we all want them to hit the ground running, but it doesn't always work like that. And I think we have to just kind of realise he's a 19-year-old boy coming to a new country. Like, I know it's not a different culture essentially, but it's a new country. He's got to be away from his family. Mm-hmm. He's going to be living in a city with probably not so much a friends network out with the club. So if he's got fans not on his back constantly, we could actually destroy him before he even starts. Like, ultimately, and sometimes, and you can see it in our reactions, I suppose, when we lose a game, how over the top football fans can go. And I think sometimes maybe you just realise that and rein it in a wee bit when it comes to players and maybe initial poor performances. Because you know what it's like, even with a manager, if they start off with maybe 2 or 3 defeats, fans are instantly on their back. And as soon as, and we've seen it with David Gray, as soon as it turns, it's all good. But as soon as 2 or 3 defeats happen again, we're back on calling it all the negatives.
Aye, when the knives come out. Chris, I'll get your thoughts on the investment in just a second. I just want to catch up on a couple of the comments. So Kieran says, Matty, do you know if it's investment or has the Evening News article thrown you off? Kieran, to the best of my knowledge, it is investment. I think the change in tone came about from Hibs putting out fires, but I believe there's more to it than that. Shanklin T9, Hearts fan on here, he's obviously come on to apologise, as they do this time, apologising for the massive forehead of their striker, for Graham Ricks, and for stealing the poppies. That's nice of you, Shanklin. Thanks for that. I'm sure everybody will appreciate it. He has followed it up to apologise just about the general smell that you get in Gorgie. So nice one, Shanklin. Keep the comments coming. Kieran said Evan Ferguson was playing every week for Brighton in the Prem a year after leaving Ireland, to give you an idea of the standard there. And Danny said Elding sounds exciting, can't help but feel we would still need an experienced striker in the mould of Miko. So Chris, on the investment stuff that come out, we've obviously had like a bit of chat on the Patreon as well. What do you make of it all?
Do you know, I think, as you said, we've kind of been talking about this sort of investment chat for probably 2 weeks. And actually, I start to think back, I think Leon mentioned the night that the Black Knight stuff was announced. We done a forum that night.
Yeah.
Like that we bought, like we took the shares back. And I'm sure pretty much almost positive Leon had said that night, there's something going on in the background. There will be something announced in due course. And I think if you take the story of the day, I think you're right. I think the club have contacted the media outlets to try and put a fire out because they've not announced it to shareholders yet. I think that's essentially what's happened. Yeah. I don't think the media come out with big investment news like that and then instantly change their tone if they've not got it right initially. So I think it's basically they've had to backtrack because the club have basically told them to backtrack. And I just don't think there's any way that the media are going to come out and start saying, well, Hibs are tied in with Midtjylland, or the Midtjylland owner and their networking essentially. Because what is it? They're basically announcing then that we're having conference calls in the weekly.
Aye. Like, news article about a Zoom meeting.
Yeah. So I think the initial article of future investment is very close. I think that's probably accurate, and I think we'll probably see something within the next few weeks regarding that, and probably with a view to a mid-to-land driven recruitment drive in the summer. I don't know what analytics they use. I don't know if it's whatever it is, but I'd pretty much imagine that, or I'd hope as well, that the Scottish media are hanging out their arse as much as they've been hanging out Jamestown's.
Aye. Well, on that, Shankland has commented again. He says we do put the anal in analytics. That's true. Actually, you do that. And he's just apologising for being obsessed with the Hibs. But yeah, what else would you do on a Wednesday night? John, I'll bring you in next. What do you want to talk? Would you want to carry on about the investment or the transfers, or do you want to start the conversation about Saturday?
Um, well, I missed last week. I was fortunate enough to be on holiday,
Well done.
so I had the Dunfermline game just had to be got out of my system listening to yourselves while looking at the cathedral from the balcony in Malaga, and it was quite cathartic last week. I mean, given the performance, so having managed to get tickets for Falkirk and missed Tynecastle. I mean, clearly my luck was up one way, but yeah, you're on holiday, you kind of get tickets for the Tynecastle game. So I thought, yeah, got the Falkirk game. We're not going to get a performance like we had in the League Cup a couple of years ago, where the players weren't up for it, looked at all over the place. And when the team came out, it was like the team was all we had. Because when you suddenly looked and saw that there were six players missing,
Hmm.
it's like, but again, you're saying, but they've done stuff for us that they should be organised in the game. But we were utterly, utterly woeful. And I would genuinely question what we'd done on the training pitch all week. It's almost as if we've had so many players out that we couldn't do anything on the training pitch. I mean, Chris mentions Chaiwa.
Hmm.
Everybody was trying to tell Chaiwa what to do in that inside right channel. I mean, so clearly there's not been enough time on the pitches at East Mains for him to know what he's to do. He overcommits to the goalie, which gives the ball out. Our press didn't work.
Yep.
From behind the goals, you're seeing us trying to move and drift, but their players had 4 or 5 yards of space on a pitch that they play in every week. And Falkirk didn't do anything that was a surprise. I mean,
Hmm.
Gray's come out and battered into the players afterwards about attitude and this, that, and the other. I saw plenty of running about in the first half. It was just really, really, really ineffective. I mean, running at the places where the ball wasn't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, chasing shadows. I mean, and so you've got that side of it. We changed in the second half, and the whole game was typified by that Rocky run at the corner. I mean, so they all came out fighting in the second half. The Falkirk players running in. Rocky goes in, gets the shoulder, wins the ball off him. Their casuals are right in front of him, turns around and can he make a 3 yard pass to a beat and he gives it straight to the Falkirk player who knocks it in for the boy who has the chance that goes past the post. That was what we were like. We were all over the place. So my question would be is it's almost as if they've been told, then you come in and train this week, guys, there's bugs going around, we'll just see what we can do on Saturday. I mean, it was that bad. You then move on to right, okay, what's going to come in? Mulligan being out for long periods is going to be a loss.
Hmm.
You're not seeing lots on the bench that can come in and influence. Campbell is looking much, much better the longer he's out again. It's back to this idea. We know that Nicky Cadden's going to come back and be slow to start. We're now getting told that we're bringing in a 19-year-old who'll be 20 in March, who hasn't played a game since the 1st of November. I mean, because they play summer football.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is a pre-season 19-year-old who's going to come in and replace Bowie, who's probably going to be off. I mean, with far too much expectation on his shoulders. I mean, probably lauded in some sort of huge media sort of launch in terms of his arrival at the club. I just feel that we're in we've moved from asking the question before the Motherwell game to say, can we win 5 games in the trot and get ourselves into that 1, 2, 3 mix? To we're really in a shit place.
Hmm.
And it's a combination of injuries to too many players, a squad of 22 outfield players. I mean, when you've got 6 of them missing and far too late in the transfer window. I mean, Mitchell's gone. I mean, we're currently weaker than we were on the 1st of January. I mean, in terms of the squad without injuries, because Mitchell's away.
Yeah.
Mitchell would have been playing probably right centre back rather than Rocky. I mean, against Falkirk. So there's a bit of rant in me because it just feels as if, yeah, there was more than just the players didn't try on Saturday. There was, to me, there was a bit more in terms of they were badly set up, badly prepared. I mean, but that could have been circumstances.
Better. What do you think of the conversation around the head coach there with David Gray, John? Because that is dominated, until today with the investment news and maybe yesterday when some of the transfer stuff was happening. But most of the talk since Falkirk has been about David Gray. What are your thoughts on that
I
situation?
think one, I don't think his job's under threat. I mean,
Hmm.
to start with, but has to do better. I mean, is there?
Yeah.
I mean, the Ian was mentioning last week, Megwa coming in and that being a positive, and we're starting to see young players, and whether we can see Rudy coming through was what I think was what Joe was saying. So we're starting to see that side of it and a bit of bravery. I mean, in terms of the utilisation of the squad. But I don't know the background. As I say, if they've got a bug going round, if they've only been able to get 14 players out onto the training pitch, they can't do proper drills. I mean, for doing pressing drills. So there might be a whole load of reasons. They might
Yeah.
when did O'Hora and Cleege go down with their bug? I mean, if that's been a phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning to the medical staff to say I was thrown up this morning. I mean, there's so many things that could have led to where we were.
Hmm.
But no, he has to do better. And he needs to find a way to get that consistency. The fact that he moved to a four, I mean, I'd sort of a wee bit shrug his shoulders saying we do have a plan B. We went to a four, but it's a 4-3-3. We then had a 4-4-2 with Boyle trying to play right side of midfield. Seen that movie before over the years. I mean, you didn't want to be right back if Boyle's in front of you.
Hmm.
I mean, you can chase him up the line, but you'll not really see him coming back. I mean, we had Ellie on the left, so it was one of those where he tried to change the shape, but did he really have the players that could fit in to do that? No. But no, I think that he has. February's a really going to be a really shit month for him because he's going to have key players who are not available. He's going to have last minute additions to the window who are not going to be quite ready, but everybody's going to expect him to be brilliant. And he's got a really hard set of games.
And at that point about getting the players in late as well, I mean, this has been another part of the conversation, John, is about whether or not Gray's been let down by the club by not getting players in earlier to give them that time to get settled into the squad or to have them available for the games against Motherwell, against Dunfermline, against Falkirk. What do you think about that?
I I think that is part of the reason why Gray gets a bit more rope.
Hmm.
I mean, because I think we're all really, really quite clear that Mackay's in charge of the football department. He's in charge of recruitment. We've got a CEO who will be in charge of dealing with the contracts. It's crystal clear to everybody in terms of the right side of the pitch and centre forward position. If Bowie goes to Verona, that just opens up huge problems for them because actually bringing in a 19-year-old who's not played since November isn't your solution there. Whether they had too many eggs in the Dykes basket and were taken aback by the move to Charlton, you don't know. These are things that will never be told. And in fairness to Hibs, and I think it's a good thing, they're a really tight ship on these things now.
Yeah.
Uh, but we'll get a fairly, on Tuesday, we will get a fairly generic 12-minute interview from Malky saying about the club trying hard and we're doing this, we're investing for the future and we're supporting the manager and this, that, and the other. And we'll hear, there'll be nothing within it that tells us anything that's actually going on.
Aye, better to sign no players than the wrong player, etc. That sort of narrative, like we've
Planning
heard
for the
before.
future, we've traded well. I mean, we've moved the right people out the building. I mean, last January was a good window because he moved the right people on. Manny's not worked. I mean, there's a bit of me, I don't
Hmm.
mind if a player doesn't work. I think it's that, but you're trying to get 3 out of 5. I mean, to come in and work for you. So if a player doesn't settle, it doesn't work out, or other players pick up, yeah, things not working is fine. But no, unless they have a Maulida coming out of the bags this weekend, no, I mean, I think this will be a disappointing window.
Can we afford to let Bowie go without another like an experienced striker coming in, John? Do you think that that's an option at all?
If we're getting offered £5 million and add-ons, I mean, we'll probably have money to give to Fulham, probably in terms of a sell-on percentage. We can't turn that down. I mean, if we're brutally honest about it, we will love Bowie for the best lob in Hibs history that's recorded on film. He has battled to some really good goals, but he hasn't been the star player that we all hoped for. I mean, so if we cash in just now and he can go to Italy and get his career going, I mean, be the success going forward and do a Fletcher for us in terms of get us money each move, fine. But no, if we're getting offered that sort of money, we'd be foolish to say no.
Even if we didn't
And we
have
would
time
be,
to
and we
replace
would be
him.
in trouble because we're not going to pick anybody up.
Yeah. And I think that's you're almost caught between a rock and a hard place if you're Hibs, because I think especially if we were to let him go and then not replace him and then have an absolute calamitous end to the season, the fans would rightly be on the club's back for it, I think. John, I'll get your thoughts on the investment in just a second. I'm just going to catch up with a few of the YouTube comments. So Mark said, "Evening out, Obade." And Alex said, "I'm lost. His investment being confirmed?" No, Alex said, "Nothing confirmed yet." J Star said, "Just joined. Hi, everyone. Was listening to the Hibs Observer podcast. They're doing one every Wednesday, 7:15 till 8:15 now. Oh my, competition. And now we've got a 15-minute crossover. Well, I'm not starting us 15 minutes later. We'll just have to fight it out." Jay and Sandy said, "Podcast derby tonight, J Star." The Cabbage Kid said, "It's the news, not just this. Paulson and Ian Gordon have been meeting up, and that's it. That's how it ended up being reported." Cabbage Kid. And Kieran asked, when is the AGM? So that's not been announced yet, Kieran. It'll come out at some point after the accounts. But I think last year we were into March before we had the AGM. The one before that was right at the end of February when the Black Knights came on board. Jay Star said the Observer podcast said no investment just now, and I think that is the official line from Hibs. Ryan asked, "What about Hellas Verona putting in a bid for Bowie? 6 million plus add-ons. It was posted 6 minutes ago. Sorry if you've already covered it. Just jumped on the stream just now. So 6 Bowie is higher than the last bid that we had discussed, which was 5. So going in the right direction if we're going to sell him." Danny said, "Wonder if the chat of investment means we could expect any signings from Denmark before Monday." And Sandy said, "Evening Longbangers, hope you're all keeping good. Bring on the Rangers. It always gets better." Colin, listening instead of coming on. Colin, you could have come on, you could have joined us. Said, "I read that it's Brentford's analytics that they use, which is Michelin. Needs a decent nickname, though, so it's catchy for the pundits and that." 1962 Starship said, "It'll be hilarious when Hearts win nothing." Um, Colin asked if there's been enough chat about Chaiwa's foul throw. That foul throw was an abomination, John, wasn't it? I mean, you talk about it when things are going wrong, they go
Well,
properly wrong. But
in fairness, anybody who'd watched AFCON would turn around and say that was a perfectly acceptable throwing.
fair point.
And it's quite clear that what we had a central midfielder who'd been thrown out to right back, and someone then said, "Take a throw in." I mean, and he did what he'd watched for the previous month at the AFCON. And it's a ridiculousness of the standard of refereeing in different tournaments in different places.
Aye, it's mental. Cabbage Kid said, "What's happening with this right back from Germany, Matt? I'm sure you said last week he was on his way. Is he walking to Edinburgh?" I think he is. I think he's relying on the LRT buses or the bypass to make his way there. It's been held up at Bochum's end, but I believe it is still happening. And Danny said the Sun are now reporting that Bowie is going for 6 million plus add-ons in the next 24 hours to Verona. And Dan says that's a good move for him, good business. But who else is coming in though? The season is over anyway, sadly. John, then on the investment, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was kind of cynical when we had the Black Knights coming in doing all the razzle dazzle. But
I
the reason
remember.
that had to be uh, done so publicly is because they had to go and negotiate with the SFA.
Mhm.
I think the idea now is that the club know that if they're going to get investment in, they can get investment up to 29% of the value of the share capital. I mean, and that's fine. So that could be one reason why it's not public. We are a publicly listed company, or we have shares in the company. So my understanding is, do you not have to tell the stock exchange if you're doing anything that's going to impact on the value of shares? I mean, you've got to give your shareholders a chance to vote on things. There's things that you can deal with. So yeah, the fact that there's little out there, but we've got an AGM coming up in 4 to 6 weeks. Even if the investment isn't short term, it's the right type of club for us to have a relationship with, even if it's just in terms of looking at how they are bringing players into a smaller league. Because he's invested in, is it Paulson that's invested in the club there, and he's made them the best team in Denmark. Now, he has, was it 10 figures worth of money? I mean, to throw at
Yeah.
a football club. I mean, and buy big bits of London or big bits of Scotland, Jenner's building and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, he has the wealth to do that. We don't have that at Hibs. But the business acumen to do that in that league, I mean, and just become so dominant. And they're the best team that we've seen at Easter Road in a long time. We've seen Celtic and Rangers play okay, but they were a really good team. So I think it's a positive, even if it just falls back to what was being reported. That it's just exchange of information and knowledge. I mean that's basically sensing people out to see if there's a sensible way forward. Because the thing with billionaires, as we found with Black Knights, they really like being in charge.
Aye, they have that about them.
The idea that the billionaire is going to come in and let the multi-millionaire, continue to run things just in the way that they want is always going to be an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Ian, I'll bring you in next. Where do you want to take us next?
I just want to congratulate John on introducing the word juxtaposition.
Yeah, it's definitely a level up for the podcast, I have to say.
I'll see what I can do. I mean, the best thing about Saturday was the flags before the game, so you felt like it, but well done to Block 7 for actually having the flags in place. So, but we've got a serious challenge with our coaching. Basically, your comment, Matty, about work-related scenarios, I think it was you or Colin, you were talking about a final written warning.
Yeah, that was me.
Whereas now the situation we're in, for those of us who have either handed out performance improvement program or received them, but when you get a performance improvement program, you get a clear target. You must improve this by then, right? Or you're on your final written warning. So I think that's where we are just now.
Yeah.
So our coaching team should be getting a performance improvement program with clear targets, and hopefully, Malky, my dad, is smart enough to be able to administer that. But Falkirk took their chances on Saturday and we didn't. Our defence, especially Rocky, it was great to see that. He blocked really well and we were lucky with Falkirk misses. It could have been a lot more. Only a quarter of our on-target shots resulted in goals, and it's the worst finishing performance in 31 games, apart from the Rangers game at Ibrox in December, which was lower. So our finishing is so crap. We had the Abita shot, we had Bowie trundling at the keeper, we had Hanley's free header where he headed it straight instead of down.
Oh, lost Ian for a second. I don't know if you're... We'll give him a wee second to come back there. There we are. Yeah. Ian, we lost you for a second there. We got as far as Hanley heading straight instead of down, and then you froze. So if you could pick up for that point.
Yeah, so basically he should have headed it down, and it would have been more likely. But McGrath had the free kick, obviously pitiful free kick, not on target. And then we were 2-1 down. Really trundled the ball straight. The keeper Moigla had it over. But on a positive note, Bowie was actually involved in Rocky's goal. It was clearly a playing move, and that actually worked. So I was quite impressed. I didn't notice it at the time. It was only when I watched it back But the team performance on Saturday at Falkirk was really poor. And as David Gray said, the failure is his responsibility. And as I said last week, the result is clearly the responsibility of the coaching team. We're not getting the best squad we had in years that we were all saying about a month ago. And the performance of the coaching team is down here. I mean, basically, Falkirk were playing at twice our pace. They're playing one touch very accurately and going to meet the passes. So they were actually going to meet the passes rather than waiting for them to arrive. Falkirk's were the first to every ball and were clearly fitter. And I just had a look, and the average age of the Hibs squad was only 1 year more than Falkirk.
Was it?
Our guys looked like old guys, and looked like they still had their resistance bands on when they were running, but they were so slow compared to them. We've got to put that down to fitness, which is part of coaching. Dylan Tate has performed better than all the players, and that's development and coaching. To turn Dylan Tate into the player he became over the past, I think, 3 years for Falkirk, that took development and coaching. And it's what we're not doing. We're not developing and improving our own players. And it's everybody knows how we.
Well, we've got a wee freeze again on here with Ian. I don't know.
Best coaches on the long balls. Balassa got man marked. He was man marked by 14, and he was obviously double teamed. So I can't remember who number 14 was, but he was double teamed. And Balassa perhaps touched the ball 4 times in the first half. And when we don't have an out ball, that forces us to go along to Bowie, who doesn't win balls in the air. He just never wins them. So the coaching staff, they need to be clear on what the tactics are to get Balassa and whoever plays that position free, or at least dragging the markers wide to create more space. Or in the second half, we sent China back as another out ball. And when 14 was actually subbed, their number 14 was subbed, Balassa suddenly became more free because number 30 that came on wasn't as good as him. So, but we missed having the option of Hora coming from the back. Although Jack Ardale at least took on some of that ability as he recognised the problem of not getting out. But in the second half, and I love we moved to the back four, as you said, and we should have been doing something different, not more of the same, the tactics of trying to get the ball to Bowie all the time. But overall, basically, we're not improving. And the lone buyer's viewer yesterday at the gym, who spoke to me about it, sorry, I forgot your name again, Ron Robbins said that Jack Ross was sacked because we were not improving. And that's the situation we're in. So some players like Bowie will be questioning, and I think this is why Bowie will go. He'll be questioning the confidence that he's got in the coaching he's receiving. That's what I said last week, and I think that is one of the reasons why Bowie will want to go. And everyone will be reassessing why they're at Hibs and whether it's really advancing their careers. But as I said last week, there'll be supporters questioning about why we did renew their season tickets, or buy notice we're trying to sell the Rangers tickets. Well, I can't understand why anyone would want to buy a Rangers ticket unless they're a season ticket holder. But I think we're really struggling for coaching just now, and I think it's performance improvement plan time.
J-Star said far too many players Gray isn't using in the right way. I still haven't changed my mind that we aren't going anywhere under Gray and could finish bottom 6. Stephen said, I like the sound of this juxtaposition boy. Can he play right wing back or up front? And Dan says we have to admire Matty's indefatigability, the amount of podcasts he does. I've got nothing else to do. This is issue. Ian, the point there about from J-Star about players not being used in the right way. Is that a fair criticism of Gray's coaching at the moment?
It's one of the reasons why we didn't perform well, but it's not the major reason. I would say the reason, certainly on Saturday, was the speed they played it, the fitness. Now, obviously, coaching is all about, you've got your psychological, you've got your technical, you've got skills, you've got your decision making, and you've got your psychological. And the head coach has got to decide the system of play, tactics, selection, and obviously motivation. And none of these appear to be improving. So I think of all these things, the physiological, the fitness, that wasn't evident on Saturday. Technical skills, they're probably okay, skill-wise. Falkirk were just so much faster, their decision-making, their one-touch, their speed. And the only one-touch we played, I remember it now, the only one-touch we played, it was almost a disaster where Rocky and Salinger were doing a give and go on our goal line in a very tight space, and then they played a wide out ball. It was a really good one-touch. But no, we're just, I agree that the players being in the right position, I think is important, but football should be able to be a bit more flexible. And I think there's too many things not working, and it's not our responsibility as supporters to help them. It's our responsibility as supporters to say, get your fucking act together, because they're highly paid coaches. And if we've not got the right coaches, we'll have to get other coaches. And one thing's for sure, actually, the guy from Midtjylland, did he not fire the head coach this year after they played us? Because he said that
He did.
they weren't playing well enough. I mean, as John said, it's the best team I've seen. But equally, when we played Midtjylland, my mate, who's a Midtjylland supporter from Herden, he said that we were the best team that played so far. So I would love to see him getting involved, Pawson getting involved, because the problem is he's not allowed to buy land in Denmark. He buys in Scotland. Denmark, they're not allowed to buy that land. So I think that's one of his investments with the Hibs. That'd be great.
Okay, John, you got your hand up.
Yes, Ian, I got the impression, particularly in the first half on Saturday, that the players weren't particularly convinced with the press that they were trying to do. I mean, it looked really, that's how disjointed it looked. It either looked really undercooked on the training pitches, or they didn't think it was the right thing to do. And there seemed to be a breakdown for me.
Definitely, and it's caused by the fact that Bowie is not fast enough. So Bowie cannot close down at the same speed as Josh Campbell, at the same speed as Martin Boyle. So Martin Boyle will still be closing down at the same speed at the end of the game that he does at the start. But Kieran Bowie closes down for about 10 minutes at a decent speed. Then they begin the second half, about 5 minutes. But he just cannot close down. It cannot work with Kieran. A press cannot work with Kieran Bowie being one element.
Joe, you had up.
Yeah, can I go back to something you said just as you were finishing chatting to me earlier on? You say that Dylan Levitt's going to Motherwell.
It was a comment from Kieran in the chat, said that he'd heard that he'd been offered to Motherwell.
I mean, two things about that. Why would you? We're thin on the ground for midfield players as it is at the moment. Why would you get rid of them just now? And most important of all, they're our biggest rival for fourth place. And I think with the games you've got coming up in the next month, they'll be further away from us, probably. But why the hell would you give a key player, because he was a big part of that 17-game unbeaten run last season, why would you give him to your biggest rival? Crazy.
Can I ask Joe, where's your family from? Are your family from Verona? Is that what you've got? Or you got some sort of special thing going on here?
I'm fourth generation. My family are from Valle Latina, near Atina.
All right.
Which is in the south.
So you're not a spy? No, okay.
No.
Not a spy. Joe, the point about David Gray not playing players in the right way, what are your thoughts on that? Is Gray getting the best out of any of the team at the moment?
No, and he has his favourites, and Claude J, we spend $1 million or whatever the hell we spent on him. He's hardly had a kick at the ball. He's coming for snap things. He's not had a decent run. Because he's got his pal Martin Boyle playing where possible, and he's been off form for a good part of the last month or two. So I think Gray's on borrowed time. I agree with what Ian said a minute or two ago. And I think this next month is going to be really tough. And
it's a big run of games coming up, isn't it?
The last few days of the transfer window, I think we're struggling. That's another reason why you shouldn't let Dylan Levitt go. We've got precious little bloody players, and I'm not a fan of Barlaser, as you know, anyway. So.
Yeah. Chris, I'll bring in. We've got this question from Ryan, who said, "I got an interesting one for you. Is what's the crack on Joe Newell? A couple of the boys I work with saying he looks defeated and finished. What's your take on it?"
It's a hard one with Joe Newell. Like, he's been out a year. Ultimately, like, he's been out a year and he's played pretty much one game in a year now. And I was granted at Dunfermline, I was pulling my hair out. Really annoyed me because I just felt that he was hiding and cutting off the passing channels. And he just looked like he didn't really want the ball. But it's been a year. But what's Joe Newell now? Nearly 34? Pushing 34? He's either 33 or coming on 34. I'm sure he's 34 or he's 33, maybe in around March time.
He's 32 at the moment. Yeah, 33 in March. You're right, Chris. Yeah.
I think it's a big ask for somebody to come back at that age, to come back after a year and just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I think if any, we're not going to see the best of Joe Newell until towards the end of the season, maybe next season, depending on how much he plays. So I think we probably do. We just lack then. We are looking at being thin in the ground in the middle of the park. He'll be around the squad, but I think he needs to pull the squad together, Jonio, because I don't think the squad looks as close as what it did last season. And I think, and as another thing on the point of the coaching, if we're talking, I think there's, to an extent, there's probably a lack of coaching, certainly in terms of set pieces.
Yeah.
Whereas last season with corners and things like that, we seemed to have a plan. Like we were set up to have a plan at attacking corners. Like we had Rocky pin the goalkeeper sort of thing, and we were finding men scoring goals for corners. Whereas I feel this season we're just kind of lumping it into the box, and it's the same with the throw-ins.
Mm-hmm.
We're just, every time we get a throw-in, 25 yards for goal, we just get somebody and try and launch it into Kieran Bowie, maybe about the 6-yard box, and it never ever comes off. We need to start being, the coaching staff needs to start being more creative with what we're doing at set pieces, because we're just ultimately just chucking a ball into the box and hoping for the best.
Yeah, Cabbage Kid mentioned he's tuned in from Warsaw. Nice one. It's always good to hear from wherever people are watching from. Ian, you got your hand up. I'll get that point. And Chris, we're going to come back to you just to have a wee chat about the next few games coming up. But on you go, Ian.
Yeah, I'll just ask Chris to have a look at the corner that we scored from on Saturday. As far as I'm concerned, that was a deliberate three option. I think there was Hanley as well, and I think it was deliberate that Bowie would go for it, then Hanley, and then Rocky. So I think that was deliberate, Chris. It's the first time I've seen it, which is why I mentioned it earlier.
Chris, Danny said, as it stands, I can see Gray being away at the end of the season, steadied the ship, but hard to see how he can take us any further. And if Paulson is going to get involved, then I can't see him tolerating this. Joe referenced that sort of run of fixtures that we've got coming up. Big, tough games for us. We're not in great form. I mean, of course, there is a possibility that we win them. As you know, we've been here before with David Gray, and everybody's expected the worst, and then all of a sudden, bang, we're 5 good results on the spin. So it's not necessarily going to be a horrendous time for him, but it has the potential for it. Chris, how do you think he's going to come out of these next few fixtures?
I'm kind of one that I think he'll come out well. I think, I know his record, especially against Rangers and Celtic, hasn't been great in terms of getting results. But again, Rangers, I know they get results and they're unbeaten in 8 or 1-8 in the spin. I get that. They haven't played great. They genuinely, and I feel if we can get about them, we can absolutely get a result. And I think if we get a result there, then David Gray will be judged on Tynecastle. And I don't go there with any fear. Never do. Again, if we can avoid getting into a battle, like Celtic did last Sunday, because I just felt Celtic just got into that sort of pinball physical battle. If we can avoid getting into an arm wrestling match, then we can play them, and we can play them off the park like we did at Easter Road. Until they made a whole raft of attacking changes and just came all out, we were absolutely playing them off the park. We would do it again. So I think he's still in a strong position. I didn't buy into this David Gray's taking us as far as he can, sort of rhetoric. I just don't buy into it, because purely we've been down this road before, where we've sacked managers based on what fans feel is not good enough. We're traditionally yo-yo up and down the league. It's not like we're any divine right to finish third every single season just because we say it enough. Ultimately, that's not, historically, history tells you that's not what we do. We're sitting 5th in the league, and I think people need to kind of realise. I was absolutely pissed off with the Dunfermline result, and I felt that David Gray got it completely wrong in terms of the team selection. But that happens to every manager from time to time.
It does, yeah.
In cups. That's the real disappointment. Falkirk, yes, absolutely. Piss poor performance can happen, but we're still 5th in the league. We're not 12th. We're not cut adrift. We're not in the bottom 6. We can go forward again. It's just sometimes these plateaus happen, and as has been referenced, we've had a lot of injuries. throughout the course of the season, the amount of niggles we've had to
Mhm.
CAD and we've had players go to AFCON, and there's been reasons why performances haven't been as consistent as what they maybe should have been. So he has got that wee bit of, I'm not going to say, and I don't think he'd use it, but there is a bit of reasons behind it. But I don't believe that going and getting rid of David Gray at the moment when we're sitting fifth in the league or even at the end of the season,
Yeah.
is probably the right way to go.
Thanks, Chris. Ian, you get your hand up.
It's his optimism, and I certainly don't want to see David Gray fired just now. I want to see him given definite targets of what's acceptable performance. And I agree with. I'd love to have Chris's optimism, but there is no indication whatsoever of us having any improvement. So we've not improved over the season at any time. And certainly Rangers is definitely has been one of the worst performances we've had against them. So that's the trouble. We've not seen any improvement. If we saw signs of improvement, it's different. But everything, and this is one of the reasons why I think Bowie will go, because I think he'll think, we're not a sinking ship, but I think he might well think like that, and he'll probably see I'm going to get better coaching there. I can see how other players have got a better chance of getting in the Scotland team rather than playing at Hibs.
Ryan said apparently the lad for Coventry this week and the boy from Sligo tomorrow. And again, just a reminder, the striker from Sligo, we've got a free feature on our Patreon there, and also like a paid scout report on him as well on our Patreon for our subscribers. So apparently he's done his medical, says Jack. Thanks for tuning in, Jack. Dan said, I want us to win our game. Shame we could end up winning Hearts of the League with the right stroke wrong result. Obviously that added aspect to the game on Sunday. Mark said, with that run last season and illness and injuries were in the squad, Gray should get more time. It might feel like it's all down to Gray, but he's juggling square pegs and round holes. Last thing we needed amongst us is Mulligan's injury and Bowie's head being turned. James Gardner said the last 3 games against Rangers, we haven't laid a glove on them. The situation, if he doesn't have a dash on Sunday, David Gray is on a sticky wicket. John, do you think if it's a bad one on Sunday, that pressure ramps up to an intolerable level for Gray?
I mean, as fans, there'll always be a reaction. I mean, and it's quite right, and it's going to be ill-informed. I mean, we're all sitting here having a conversation tonight with no idea what's going on at East Mains, how much training's getting done, who's injured, who's not been able to be kicking a ball for the first half of last week because they were coming. So there's a whole lot of stuff we don't know. But that's what Mackay knows. So the whole idea is that I think that we're in bother at the moment. I think Gray's in bother because his squad has fallen to bits underneath him. He's got too many players that are injured. He's going to lose a key striker. He's going to be given a really, really bright-looking young striker who's going to be 20 in a few weeks' time. But however is that he's got to go and play a Rangers team that haven't lost an 8, who are second in the league and who can sniff breaking a 9 in a row. I mean, early on for Celtic. I mean, they're supposedly turning down money for players, but our only hope is that they get back to bits on Thursday night. I mean, if I'm really, that's a problem for Gray. I mean, the quick thing I don't know, right, is that I think Gray needs to continue to develop as a manager or as a coach, and how he does that in terms of who's round about him. It'd be interesting if anybody ever has an interview with him to say who does he touch base with? I mean, clearly he's got Mackay in the building, but who is there outside that he sounds off? I mean, you'd have thought that Neil Lennon would have been one of them, and maybe that can be one of them now because there's no cup time. It's that sort of idea. How does he use that network that he's built up? I mean, as a player who's been in Scotland for all that time, a player who started his career at Man United. I mean, to send and go to people. That's what we don't see. That's the bit that Ian refers to in terms of what's the plan, what do you do, and what's the mentoring, what's the judgment that he's getting. So I can see there's growth there, and you've got somebody with a CV that should have the connections to have that growth. He's shown integrity levels through the roof. I mean, he doesn't come out and bullshit after games. He doesn't try and cover it up for the fans. He does try and protect his players when he can. He's honest when he wants. I mean, he takes it on the chin himself. So there's lots of really good characters about him as a person that start brilliant in that job, and that's why you want to keep him and develop him. But I think at the moment he's sitting with a busted flush. You know what I mean? He's now trying to bluff people with a 5 and a 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Joe.
I totally agree with everything that's just been said. He is sitting with a busted flush. And most important of all, with absolutely no midfield. You know, Ballister and Chagwa, come on. I mean, hopeless, absolutely hopeless. You know, we desperately need to try and bring in a decent midfield player in the next few days because we're, you know, especially with Mulligan being out for 6 weeks. My God, are we toiling? It doesn't look good with the run of fixtures we've got between now and the end of February. My God, we could be down in 7th place by the end of next month.
Or tapping on the door of Thursday, who knows? In all seriousness, right? So we've got a couple of minutes left. Joe, game on Sunday. How do you see this going in? How are Hibs going to do against Rangers?
I think it will be very, very tough. The Rangers side are on that. They brought in a couple of new players. They've clearly been well managed, and because they had a lot of injuries for the guy when he first came in. I think Hibs will lose by a couple of goals. Sadly, that's the last thing I want. I'll be there screaming. It's a 2:00 kickoff, by the way. So remember that, Ian. We have to go to the Hibs Club a bit earlier.
So, an earlier kick-off. Okay. Ian, same question to you. How do you see it going on Sunday? Joe, we'll come back and get a score off you before we wrap up. Ian, how do you think it'll go on Sunday?
I can see no grounds, no logic whatsoever as to why we would win. But that's the reason I'm a Hibs supporter, probably. I have no idea. I really have no idea. If we get a draw, I'll be ecstatic. So there's no logic to why we should win. And if obviously I'll be very happy if Chris is right.
Chris, how do you see it going on Sunday then? How's the game going to pan out?
Do you know what? It's got let's look at on. It will be tough, and with the refereeing appointment, probably tougher.
Oh, I mean that's worth a podcast on its own. That fucking hell.
But do you know what? I think the crowd have a big part to play. We really need to be at it for the 90 minutes. I think the crowd need to be up for it, and fully optimism. And I see us taking an odd goal victory.
All right, let me get score predictions. John, what's the score going to be?
2-0 to Rangers.
2-0 Rangers. Joe?
3-1 for Rangers.
Chris?
2-1 to Hibs.
And Ian?
2-1.
I'll go 3-2. We'll talk about it in the preview show tomorrow, so I might have changed my mind by then, but a couple of comments on the... Ryan says 2-1 Hibs. Edinburgh Hibs fan channel said 3-2 Hibs. I think I saw a 3-0 to Rangers there for J-Star. I can't see if there's any other ones. I've got a few comments that I'm missing, but we will wrap up there. Thanks very much for tuning in.
I'm going to go and wash my mouth out with soap, by the way, for saying that.
As you should. I mean, you ought to be thoroughly ashamed of yourselves, but I don't know what to say there for being rude.
Just on a last point, and I know people have been getting kind of antsy about the whole lack of sort of movement in the transfer window, but statistically and historically, most moves get done in the last 48 hours in January. It's either the first 3 days or it's the last 2. Like the sort of 2.5, 3.5 weeks in between is pretty much nothing happens.
Clubs seem to get their act together.
Yeah, today's the 20th, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's put a note on the diary. 28th of January, 2026, the day we use the word juxtaposition on the phone.
Right. Okay, we will be back with a preview show, I think 4 o'clock tomorrow, so please do join us for that. If anything happens signing-wise between now and then, of course, we will cover it, and if we hear any more about potential millions and millions and millions of pounds coming at Hibs, we'll try to be the first to break it to you as well. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.